Now we go next to Mr. Petteri Nykky, who is the head coach of the Finnish men's national team in floorball. And since he is a very busy guy, he also coaches in golf and goes from one country to another to the next one. This has been pre-recorded, and if there's any failures in the questioning, that's due to me. So I did this interview a couple of days ago. So without further ado, Mr. Petteri Nykky, and his subject is developing a winning team through player involvement. So with Petteri right now.
So we're here with Petteri Nykky, the head coach of the Finnish floorball team. Petteri, I suspect more or less most of the people know generally who you are from the floorball side, but if you'd like to present yourself with a couple of things, what would you like to tell us about yourself and your coaching background?
Okay, thank you, Oskari. Yeah, I have been coaching 2 sports for closer to 30, 40 years. So I'm working with the golfers individual, plus I work also for the golf union, Finnish Golf Union, working as a head coach for the men and the boys. And I also have 4 individual players that play on a LET or the LPGA. So at the moment, I'm in Dubai with the Finnish national team, practicing for the upcoming year.
All right, and we go to the floorball side. Our topic is building a winning team through player development or player involvement, rather. When you started the first time as a head coach of the Finnish national floorball team, what kind of situation did you enter as a coach?
Well, I entered, or we as a group of coaches entered the team in a situation where we had just gotten bronze medal from the World Championships in Kloten, Switzerland, and that was the starting point. After those games, we took over and started from there. Before that, Finland had finished a couple times second and once third before that, and the aim was at some point to win the World Championship. So that was the beginning.
And what kind of situation was it, if you think about that team and sort of the atmosphere and the situation that the team was in? What sort of work was awaiting for the coaching staff?
Well, our feeling was that we are quite a bit behind Sweden, and we were pretty much in the same level as Switzerland and Czech Republic at the time, even though we had gotten more silver medals than they had, but still playing against Switzerland 2004 in a bronze game, which was decided after the penalty shot competition. So we were in a situation where we were third, and the aim was to be number 1 at some point. And we had the feeling that we had a good team. We had lots of players who had been in the team for quite some time. And we had the feeling that if we can work with enthusiasm and hard ethics, we could actually climb up to the top in the near future. It really didn't happen. In my opinion, we did all we could for the 2006 games, but just wasn't quite enough. We finished second, losing to Sweden after the overtime. So we were close, but yet so far it's a long way to win from losing by one shot or 1 goal.
And we're talking about the first period was 2004, 2006. What were the biggest things in the sporting side you were aiming to change if you look at the athletes and look at the team?
Well, there were many sides, but one that I think was the most important. It was that the players start to think for themselves as a group, as individuals, knowing what it takes to be a winning member of the winning team. And of course, one of the biggest issues were also that our players need to be in better shape than they were before. And I got some remarks that it shouldn't be national team's job to take care of the conditioning of the players. And I think it the same way. I think it should be the club teams and the individual players who should take care of them, that their stamina is good enough to play the game. But at the moment, at that time, we didn't feel that way. So we had quite a long training sessions, and we really wanted our players to be in great shape, because I thought that that's the easiest part of the whole thing. Getting together, having the players understand what this game is all about, it needed to have some base on it, so that if you work hard, you're in great shape, it's easier to understand the game. And that was pretty much the beginning. And in the very beginning, we kind of try to work on the team so that everybody starts understanding better their role, what it means to be in a national team playing in international games, that you don't quite play the same way as you do in your club team. And that was one of the biggest changes. I think we went through a lot of questionings. The players wrote me a whole bunch of all kinds of letters, or we try to find good questions, and the players answered those. And so we try to get into their heads a little bit more to understand what they are thinking about, what role floorball plays in their lives, what's the priority. And in my opinion, if you play sports to be number one in the world, it needs to be priority number one. Of course, health and the families and that, but when you do something other than that, it needs to be high up there in the ranks. And that was one of the messages that we gave out early on. I think it's 2004.
That's quite a long journey you've done in 17 years from that day. And back then, I feel that our sport was, even to the national team players, to the top level players, it was maybe not a hobby, but more like a hobby than for sure a professional sport. So there was sort of this attitude that needed to be changed as well, as I gather from your answer.
Yes, definitely. And I had, of course, been already since 1999 as an assistant coach for 3 years, and then I was a couple years out of the national team. But anyways, I had some background on how the game is played on an international level, and like you said, sure, it was like that. And I think that we still have some players that they have to go to work, they have to do the studies, and not only devote their time to floorball. But it has definitely changed throughout these years, 17 years, as you said. We have a lot more professional players, half professionals, and even those amateurs, they devote so much time to be better at this game. And that's what it takes to be high up there in the ranks. And I'm very happy, and we're being fortunate that we've had, those players who have shown the way. And one of the things that has been always, if you talk about the player involvement, is that they would start leading from within, from the inside. Of course, I talk a lot to the team, and I tell them the principles of this and that. But if we want it to be true and they want to have some effect on the players, it's better if it comes from within. And the leading players, the captains and such, if they so one of the great things that has happened throughout these years is that the culture has changed. Now that we get new young kids to the national team, the older guys take them under their wings and help them out. It's so much easy to get in there since we have such a strong group behind it, and they all know what it means. The newcomers are as important as the old guys, so the culture has changed, and I think we have been doing in that sense a lot of good. And of course, coaches always think that it should be even better, and of course, because you're never ready. If the team changes by a couple players, it changes a lot, and and that's what we're always working with. And the things that you've done in the past, try to keep reminding yourself that you take from that, and then try to learn what it needs to be at the next level. And because the competition gets harder and harder and harder, so we need to be ready for all the changes. And it's been a great journey.
I think today's topic, player involvement and building a winning team by player involvement, is at the very core of what you guys did back then and what you're still doing as a coaching staff in the Finnish national team. I myself have been privileged to work with you guys for the past 3 years as a team manager, so I sort of seen close up what you guys do. I also have spoken to a lot of the players from the early days, from 2004, 2006, and so on. And a lot of players tell me that it was a shock, the change that you made in the team. So that I think back in those days, if you look at the playbook, it was mostly defense, how to organize the defense. And everything was drawn out to the players, exactly move like this, be positioned like this, and so on. And that all changed, I think, quite drastically when you guys came in. There were a lot of players awaiting sort of more precise instructions how to play the game. And once they didn't get it, they were quite shocked at first.
Well, you're definitely right. And well, it was, I think that we had some backfires on that as well. But as we kept on doing it, the players started to understand more and more. Although they had all the time gotten the questionnaires or the questions to write about what's this and that and so on. And so they were taken into this way of thinking that they are playing. They know what's happening on the field, not us. We see the skeletons of the 5 players moving and how they help the goalie and such. But in the player's mind, and as we coaches think, they should own the game. We should help them out with the structure and give them the what you call some skeleton. This is how we do this. This is how we want this. These things need to happen in our game. And as the years progressed and went further on, and we started to understand that the most important thing for our team to manage and be successful is to have a strong defense, strong goaltending. And as we started to do that better and better, the players noticed that there are actually good places to start doing the offense. And for a long time, I said, I don't want to know how we do the offensive play, because if I know, the other coaches know as well. So I gave them room to create. They gave them room to think for themselves. And once you get the players together, you have 5 guys. Okay, who am I having with me? Okay, this guy, he's a good shooter. This guy wants to stop all the balls. This guy can actually rip the ball away from the opponent. And okay, what do we do with these 5 guys? I remember many situations where the players were expecting, how do we defend? So at one point we were in, I think, Czech Republic in Ostrava, and one of the more experienced players came to me and said, hey, the players want to know, how do we play? So I took him to my room, which was, I think, 3-4-2. So they all came into my little hotel room. I think it was a little bit bigger than this particular room that I'm now. And I said, today we play 3-4-2, which was the number of my hotel room. And they said, what? So I started writing down, okay, as we as we start the game, you're pretty much placed like left wing here, center here, right wing here, and the defenders a little bit this and that. And that's where we start. And it's 5 times 1 against 1. So take care that your guy doesn't score. And the closer they come to our goal, the closer you are. And not on the backside, but on the forehand side, they can't shoot. Good defending is if the opponent doesn't shoot at all. But that's hardly unlikely in this game. Everybody gets a shot time to time. But after that meeting, so to speak, I think we played the best ever game by that far against Sweden. I think it was 4-0 after first period, and I think the overall result was 9-4 or 9-5 or something like that. And I remember Jussi Antti being in the bleachers looking at the game. He said, Finland has never ever done the defense as well as they did now, because they had been relieved from all the 1-2-2, 2-1-2, 1-3-1 of the numeric system, so to speak. And that was kind of a turning point when they started understanding. And as we started to get better at the defense, knowing that it's hard to make a score in our end, then they started to understand, okay, now that we get the ball there in this corner there, or we get it from upstairs, what do we do next? And then we gave them a lot of room to discuss with the team, with the participants in each block. And sometimes I always curse myself too high, I don't want to say the word, but anyways, that I give them too much room to think. And I said, oh, maybe the skeleton wasn't good enough. And many times I think that maybe I asked too much from them. And sometimes even during the game, I think, should we help them out, or should we look still if they can figure it out? Of course, this doesn't happen in the World Championships, but on the way to championships, you kind of try to pace it so that, will they take enough responsibility? Because we're trying to involve them in the team, how the team plays, what is the identity of Finnish floorball and such. So, it's always like walking on a tightrope, if the balance is there. And I know I've gone over and I've gone under, but the overall ethics and the understanding that everybody needs to be involved, how Team Finland plays floorball at the national team.
I think the story of the defense system, 3-4-2 or whatever it was called, I think that's a good example, because people often ask me, well, how exactly does Petteri coach? And it's not an easy question to answer, even watching from a close distance. I've tried with 2 books. I'm still not sure if I got the point, but I think that's a good example. Like, that's more or less 15-17 years ago that happened, and that's when it starts to, when the players realize the big idea, then they start building more to the specifics, going more to the specifics, but they do them themselves mainly. And I've seen the situations where the players have like 100% control over the situation, and then I've seen the other as well. I think you tend to take the lead when you need to, but more or less try to give the players room to figure things out themselves.
Definitely so. And it goes like this, in my opinion. I have as hard time to understand how I coach as you do, but I trust the experience. I trust what I have seen. I trust what our management has seen. We have lots of experienced coaches who have been seeing the sport close on for so many years and decades that we kind of trust, and then we debate a lot with the other coaches. How should this be done? How should we? What did you see? Why is this happening? Haven't we told them what to, and that and that and that? So, but let's say this way, in between the World Championships, it goes like this: that we give them lots and lots of rooms. Then we kind of tell what, in our opinion, went good and what needs to be better. And at times we need to kind of set clearer rules as to what we play. But like then we try to prepare the team within the 3 years. Okay, I mean the 2 years in between, so that this time, of course, 3 years because we didn't have the games last year. But they are so prepared that once we watch the other games during the World Championships, we just show them few minutes of they have figured out this and that. And so they would be so prepared that I hope, and I'm wishing that our coaches or management team doesn't have to do much. If we do have to do a hell of a lot, let's say it that way, then we have kind of did something wrong or went somewhere wrong during the preparation time, which has been now 3 years. But then, and as we speaking now, and I think this is a recording, where we'll be in a camp trying to figure out the last pieces of the puzzle before the game starts, and of course then the work starts again, in a sense that we're in such a state of mind that there is nothing else but the game, the particular game today, and then the next day, and the next day, and then we have a couple days off, then we have another game, and hopefully it goes like this as we have planned. But we never know. It's sports, and that's the fun part of it. But the execution of the game should be just doing the things that we have rehearsed for a long time. We've made many mistakes, like in the last EFD. There were a lot of good things and a lot of not so good things. But as we go through those, I'm hoping that the overall understanding what we have done so far and what we'd like to produce in the games is less mistakes, or at least less the same mistakes that we've done before. And if the opponents are so great or have figured something out that we haven't seen, or it's something unheard of, then we just have to trust that because the players have been so involved with the development of the Finnish national floorball team, that they can figure it out as we go. And of course, our job is to see if that beforehand, what to expect, and that kind of thing. So we're living at the great times. Competition's been so close.
Of course, you have the best Finnish players at use when you sort of choose the national team and so on. But I think a lot of the times, as coaches, we're a little bit afraid of giving the responsibility and the power to the players, and a lot of coaches figure or think of it, the player involvement in such extreme measures as a risk, that the players are not ready to take it. But isn't it so that if we never give the responsibility to the players, they never learn to take it, and then we sort of, as coaches, we reap what we sow?
Yeah, definitely. So I try to give them, and like I said, sometimes I've given way too much responsibility. The trick in the coaching business is to give them exactly what they can carry. And I think it's a mistake for coaches if they give the players too much responsibility. We need to kind of feel that this player and that player can carry all the burden that we throw at them. And if it goes over, then we kind of misjudged something. But I'm a firm believer that the players know how the game should be played. Definitely.
One of the things that really stuck with me was is your idea of that the team has altogether more or less 1,000 years of experience in life. So that sort of, to me, puts into perspective what am I supposed to know as a coach, as a one person, whereas I'm just one guy of a 30 people team, and I think that's a good metaphor for the knowledge that we have as a group versus one head coach.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think that we have luckily 8 guys in the management team, or 10 or whatever, and we are almost as old as the team, and individually a lot older. So we're kind of in a spectrum of life, we're a little bit ahead of the individual players, even though they have as many or even more years combined, but still they're in a different phase of their lives. But it's like that. That's why we try to take, all the team members, all the expertise that they might have, and everybody is better than somebody in something. And if we can just somehow gather all the knowledge in our team, we have loads of knowledge from different aspects of the life and the world and the sports and the floorball as well. But I still think that the guy who needs to go in the ring, he knows the game better than we do observing it. Even though I have played many games, a lot of our players, the coaches have played the game. But like Mika Kohonen is the only one who has recently been there, and maybe Henri Toivoniemi goaltending, but it's been years and it changes rapidly every year. So we have to give the power to the player, as long as they play with the certain rules that the team can work as a unison. They are like one. We have 20 captains on the team, and everybody needs to lead from the front at some point of the tournament or whatever. And our roles as coaches, the same thing. I sit back a lot of times just observing what happens throughout the 29 other team members. And then sometimes I jump in front, talk to them about what I've seen, and sometimes I'm in the middle, and I'd like to be in a way useless during the games. That would mean that we have coaches have worked their asses off, sorry my language, but worked so hard that we can kind of enjoy the ride as the players get involved and they do the thing, because we don't score any goals as coaches, but we hopefully can guide them through, give them the best possible chance to be as good as they can with the current knowledge, current skill level, current experience, whatever it is. But that's the whole point. And if we are lucky, it happens, and then we do okay. We'll get what we deserve. We'll get pretty much how much we have put on, invested in this thing.
And I think going back some years, I think one of the biggest changes in when you started sort of involving the players more was sort of getting them to wake up to the idea that it's not enough to do your best 2 hours a day, that you have to actually lead the life of a top athlete 24/7 and through the whole period to the next games.
Yeah, definitely. The idea of 24/7, 365 and every fourth year, 366. It just means that the player needs to know all the time where he's going, what's this thing that I'm doing now, how it affects. So I think even in sports nowadays, we talk about the whole coaching but even in the whole coaching, the concept of I don't know the English word for it, the whole, I'm just calling it but we still talk about a little bit of sleep, eating, practicing, and doing your own exercises. But I think it's even more that friendships, schooling, families, other hobbies, all those need to somehow get into, be in the balance. And as you understand the concept of 24/7, that we are always, trying to develop ourselves as persons, as individuals, as human, and as a sportsman. And the better we understand who am I'm a guy who happens to be a coach, but my identity is not, even though for some people or somebody else, it might feel that he's a coach. I'm Petteri Nykky, who just happens to love coaching, the complexity of it. And I'm trying to grow as a coach, and I grow as a person and understand more cause and effect and that. And I think that we've been preaching it to the players to take responsibility of their lives, knowing what the school to go to, what kind of work they can do if they want to play at the highest level, how much they have to invest on this sport if we want to achieve something as a group. So I don't remember your question, but
well, you answered it already. So
okay,
basically,
good.
But I think to me, to sort of starting to wrap things up here, I think that's actually at the core of what you do. You don't approach just the athlete, you approach the human being, and that's 24/7 business anyway. And if you sort of don't involve the players, and if they don't wake up to the realization that I have to take responsibility about my own career, then you just get an athlete who does things right, like 90 minutes in a practice, and then you still have 22 hours a day to screw things up, so to say.
Exactly.
So this is, I think, a good way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do things and you live the moment, you dream of the future, you live the present, and that's the only thing that we have. We have the present time, and the better you are involved here and right now, the better chances you might have to find the flow in the games, when it really means that you can perform at the best of your abilities at the level. And if we have 20 guys doing it at the same time, then it's hard to beat us. That's what we aim for.
Finally, I think this is a really easy question, actually a really hard one. How do you approach involving the players? If you would have to give a couple of tips for your colleagues, maybe not with such experience as you have, how do you start sort of changing your perspective more to the way of involving the players in the team, empowering the players?
Ask them how they feel, what they want. Like I started, with all the teams or the individual players that I coach in golf. Who am I? What are dreams in my life? What are the goals in my sports? The people that I appreciate and the things that I honor. And what might be your motto if you happen to have that? And if they write that down, or you talk about these things, you get an idea, and they might know much more about a lot of things than we as coaches. So we can honor the knowledge and start from there, and then kind of steer our way into what is common to us. We try to play better floorball, or whatever the sport is.
And it
I
doesn't
think-
hurt if you know your players and your athletes, and yeah, that's a good way to get to know each other as well.
Exactly.
All right, Petteri, thanks a lot for your time, and wish you everything goes well in Dubai, and I guess see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.